Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we were talking about Chase's most famous or perhaps infamous credit card rule, and that is Chase 524. So we'll break down the rule itself, what's in, what's out, some best strategies for you no matter where you're at in your credit card journey, and of course the changes as well, because we have seen some cards be removed from 524 as well. So if all that sounds interesting to you, of course, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, first things first, the best place to start is what exactly is 524? Well, this is a rule specific to Chase, of course. It says, very simply put, if you will have 5 new credit card accounts open within the last 24 months, it's an automatic decline for your next Chase card. Now, it's important to note here that if you were to call into Chase or talk to a banker in branch, they may or may not acknowledge the existence of this rule. It's no longer a secret. It's definitely out there. But it's more of an underwriting rule, and no company, bank, or otherwise comments publicly on their underwriting standards. However, if you were to apply and get denied due to 524, you usually end up getting a letter. It says something along the lines of like too many recent account openings or something like that. It doesn't specify 524, but we have more than enough data points to know this is a real thing. Just don't expect a straight answer from a banker, but of course you might get one if they've been doing this long enough. So, very simply, that is the rule. Now, I guess it seems simple, but there are some things that count towards it and some don't, so let's start to break down that. So, as far as what counts towards your 524 status, well, number one here is all personal cards open with any issuer. Even if you close that account, it was open, so it's going to count. Authorized user cards, which I always found a little bit weird, but now store cards are also on here as well. They're primarily ones that are part of major payment networks or Visa or MasterCard, which really just means you don't have to use that card at a specific store, though it may be branded as a store card, right? So, an example like that would be, like the Barclays Barnes & Noble card from back in the day. It's a store card, but you can use it elsewhere. Now, there are also data points that say even specific store cards or charge cards now count as well. So if you remember the classic Kohl's card that could only be used at Kohl's, that counts as well, potentially. And then again, you have business cards from 3 specific issuers, so Discover, Capital One, and TD Bank. These would count as well. Of course, we're going to talk about business cards in a second. Now, of course, it's hard to know for sure because outside of personal credit cards, they don't list what does and doesn't count in this rule that the Chase doesn't want to acknowledge. But all this has been compiled from years and years of data points we believe would count. Now, on the plus side, what does not count against 524? Well, there are a few things. If you apply for a card and you were denied, that won't count because it's not counting credit inquiries, and since an account was never opened, it doesn't count towards your status. And the next one is if you have auto loans or mortgages or student loans, those are all going to do credit pulls, credit checks, but that's not a credit card account, so it's not going to hurt 524. These are specific to credit card accounts. And the last one is business cards. You might hear us talk about business cards on the channel a lot. We're big fans of them, and the reason people are big fans of them because except for those 3 issues we just talked about, the vast majority of business cards do not report to personal credit. They will pull personal credit to get your approval, but after that, they never show up on your personal credit report unless if the account goes, delinquent or something like that, you miss payments, then they could report it. But as long as you keep it in good standing and making your payments, they're not going to report to personal credit, which means they never show up on Chase's end when they do the check. Exception to this is going to be Chase cards, right? And we'll talk about this a little bit in the strategy section, but if you're at 424, you can get as many Chase business cards as you want, and with no 524 issue, obviously you still have to be approved, and there are other criteria, but it won't slow you up. If you're 524 or more, you cannot get Chase business cards because you're still at 524, but you could get other business cards from, Bank of America or American Express, and it wouldn't put you up to 6, 7, or 824 in Chase's eyes because, again, they're not going to report. So that's what's in and what's out. Now, when we talk about the cards specifically, this is where we've seen the biggest change as of late. And I will stress that, hey, this is, Q2 of 2022, so you might want to double check this, especially if you're watching in the future. But right now, the cards for Chase that are included in this 524 purgatory, if you will, are going to be on the left here. So before it used to be all the cards. Now we have the cards that are affected are the Freedom line, Sapphire line, Ink line, Aeroplan, the Hyatt line, the IHG line, Starbucks, British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, Disney. Now on the right is where we've seen the most change. Again, these cards all used to be affected, but we've pulled them out. So the Southwest line, the United line. I've seen a handful of data points on the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless line. I'm not super confident about that one though. And then the Amazon Prime card. Those cards have all been removed from 524, which really means if you were, let's just say you were at 524 and you applied for the Amazon card. As of right now, of course, barring you pass their other criteria, you should be approved for the Amazon card even at 524. Same with United and Southwest. Now, we believe this because, their co-branded partners don't really care about Chase's 524 deal, right? They just want as many people to have their cards as possible. So it's a good place to talk about why does 524 exist. Well, 524 exists for two reasons. One, to keep you and me out, people who just want a ton of credit cards for the sign-up bonuses and things like that. Or number two, to keep people out who would apply for a ton of credit all at one go maybe and not be paying it back, busting out as they call it. And so, the average person is not going to be affected by 524. You tell the average person you open 5 accounts in 24 months, they're going to think you're crazy. But that's why 524 exists. That's why it's an underwriting rule, just to kind of protect Chase from, unfortunately, people like us. Now, with that, how do you know where you stand with 524, right? I mean, I guess, yes, you could just keep track in a notebook when you're opening and closing cards, but in my experience, I found the easiest way to go is Mint. Now, I don't love Mint, it's by Intuit. There's nothing wrong with it, I just don't really find a use for it. But if you go into your account, you go into your credit report section, it actually gives you a really helpful list of all the accounts you've opened, and it'll even show the age as well. So you just look for, they'll call it JPMC card as Chase, they'll have Amex card in there, you can see the mortgages and the car loans there as well. And it'll tell you the age, so you're just looking to make sure, anything, older than 2 years does not count, anything 2 years and newer is going to count. There are other ways, there are plenty of other apps out there, but in my experience, this one is the easiest way to check your 524 status. That's what I use. That's why I actually keep my Mint account open. But it is actually important to know, how does Chase calculate 524? And again, this is from data points. I'm not going to say this is the specific formula that they use on their end, but let's just say you were looking at your report and you're like, hey, today's the day, I'm now 424, should you apply for a card right away? Well, no, unfortunately, you should still wait a little bit. So the calculation we have here, again, compliments of Thrifty Traveler here, says basically Chase 524 is calculated on a card membership basis, not a calendar year. So the example they're giving is if you were above 524 and you fall below on May 15th, you would need to wait until June before you applied for a card that was subject to the Chase 524 rule. Now, with that said, it's possible, again, you could go through reconsideration and maybe you say, hey, no, it's the exact date. Perhaps they'd help you. We don't really know. But I mean, unless you know for sure, like, hey, a sign-up bonus is about to expire or something, I would just wait, in this example, the extra 2.5 weeks and apply for sure. Now, as far as loopholes and workarounds go, are there any ways to backdoor this? Well, there used to be, and then they kind of tightened things up. So on one hand, we've seen cards come out of 524, but on the other hand, we've seen loopholes go to waste. So on screen, you have a few that used to work. So being Chase Private Client used to be able to get you through anything. Basically, you just have a ton of money with them. They used to have pre-qualified offers. They used to have selected for you offers. And these were all kind of in your account and then applying through a Chase banner offer as well. Used to work, some of them were called Black Star offers in the day. We've seen these all but gone, in my opinion, or severely nerfed. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to talk about as far as loopholes, because I know someone's going to ask, is it possible, let's just say you were 424, to apply for like 2 Chase cards on the same day at the same time, and would that let you slip by? I've seen folks say it works. I've seen other ones say, hey, normally Chase has gotten better at catching that and, like, sending one to, manual review or something. So I personally, when it comes to Chase, I wouldn't chance it. It's because we've talked about this in other videos, but Chase is like so cool with just about everything else. 524 is really like their one hang up. So I just try not to make them mad. It's not like Amex where they're so just, tedious and bureaucratic about stuff, in my opinion. So you could try it, try to game the system like that, but I don't think it's worth it personally. But of course, if you have done this before recently, let us know down below. So that's basically 524 as a whole. Now let's talk about some strategies here. So I'm going to tell you two. Like the one, if you're under 524, then we'll talk about what to do if you're over 524. So if you're under 524, there's a few different things you can do here. Number one, we always say start with Chase early because of this. This Chase Freedom Flex, Chase Freedom Unlimited, Sapphire Preferred. These are good cards to start with. They're no annual fee or $95 annual fee for the CSP. They usually have the most aggressive sign-up bonuses. You could also do hotel and an airline or a hotel or airline card if you wanted, and that'll put you at 424 as well. I mean, obviously, you could change around this order if you want. This is just kind of the general progression. Now, once at 424, you could target business cards as well. The Ink lineup is great. Ink Cash is one of my favorite business cards. Ink Unlimited, they have great sign-up bonuses. And, of course, then they have, basically business versions of the United and the Hyatts and all of that. So even if you don't want to keep them long-term, still good options. And of course, you have other issuers, other major issuers that you go take a look at their business cards as well. A lot of issuers, they have personal and business, and some of them are like basically mirror copies. If you take like the Amex Delta cards, the personal and the business are basically the same thing. So you could take a look at that and just say, if I wanted the Delta Gold, for example, maybe I get the business one first, to help that 524 status. Now, of course, if you're over 524, well, then your options are reduced greatly, unfortunately. But you still have business cards from other major issuers because, again, that's not going to put you over any more 524, I should say. Of course, you will be locked out of Chase business cards, though. Garden and cooldown period. Gardening is a term, like a banking term that comes about that basically just says you're kind of in a cooldown period. Gardening leave, right, was if you ever left like, a major bank before you could start your job at another one, they would pay you to just sit around for like 2 or 3 months, wait till all the positions that your bank that you were leaving, your former or employer kind of expired, or they were far enough along in their strategy that you weren't taking pertinent information with you. So that's where gardening comes from. That's basically you're just kind of like hanging out, not doing a whole lot in the credit card game, just maximizing the multipliers you have. Now, in addition to that, if you had authorized user counts, you could always go through reconsideration. Unfortunately, there's not a way to call in prior to it. You'd have to apply, get the letter in the mail, and then phone in like, hey, no, this is an authorized user card. Can you help me out? And then usually, they might do it. It goes to like a manual review for that person to look at. And then, of course, as of late, you have the cards unaffected by 524 right now. So if you're taking a look at the Chase catalog, planning it out kind of, then you can say, hey, well, I might want the Amazon card, the United card, but I'm going to wait until I'm at 524, because if I apply for them, under 524, 424, whatever, it's still going to push me up to 5 versus getting 5 other cards and then coming back for these that are currently not around. So that's kind of like your best strategy. That's primarily why we say start with Chase earlier, because, anything worth doing is worth overdoing in this game, and, you'll be locked out pretty quickly. So, final thought here, overall, I don't think Chase 524 is terrible. It is definitely annoying. The most annoying thing is they just don't tell you about it. It would be great if they disclosed it, specifically what counted, what didn't count, specifically disclosed these cards are in, these cards are out. But again, it doesn't affect that many people, unfortunately. But overall, Chase, whether you like their cards or not, either you're just bonus hunting or trying to get maximum value in this game, it's worth stopping here and then getting them. And if you don't want to keep them, that's fine. But if you were to skip this and start with Bank of America or U.S. Bank and get locked out of Chase, you're just leaving a lot of value on the table, in my opinion. Chase is one of the more aggressive issuers when it comes to bonuses and multipliers and things like that. That's really why this is so important. So overall, guys, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. Posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. My question for you guys is let me know down below what your thoughts are on 524 or what your best strategies are. How do you maximize your earnings with Chase before moving on? Or what cards should people prioritize in your opinion? I'd love to get your thoughts on that, especially on the co-branded side. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.